All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm gonna give all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakadash. Also, gonna give double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS that rule well and teach for forgiveness, 100% truth. All right, so I wanted to get into Isaiah 30, Isaiah 34. I'm gonna try to do Isaiah 34 breakdown. Yahweh's wrath against the nations. Okay, so this is where we coming up to. All right. As you see all that stuff that's going on in the Middle East, and um, all these prophecies going on. We are headed um, to that stage to where Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is going to come and take these other nations down. All right. So this is Isaiah 34:1. It says, come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, you people. Let the earth hear and all that therein, the world and all the things that come forth of it. Okay, so not only that, there's uh the prophets are for the nation of Israel, but the prophets are for these other nations as well. Let them know the destruction that's coming to these other nations. Right? Let me get this in the NLT real quick. It says, "Come here and listen, O nations of the earth. Let the world and everything in it hear my words." All right. I thought I had a better translation. All right. So yeah. So pretty much, the Israelites, the prophets, usually when the prophets come out, they prophesize the downfalls of kingdoms. And we can get that in let's get Jeremiah real quick. 28:8. It says, "The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and pestilence." Okay. So there's always been prophets and throughout all these kingdoms that ruled, that prophesied the coming judgment to them. Okay. So just like now, you got the prophets prophesying against this empire. Okay, these other nations. Okay, because it's at the point in time that these rulers of the earth are going down. Okay, and the one that is ruling is Esau Edom. Okay, pursuant to Second Ezra 6-9, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob's the beginning of that follow. Okay, starting with you top elites, the top international banking families. Okay, so not only the prophets are for the nation of Israel, it's also for these other nations. Okay, let them know what's coming for them. Let's get this is Jeremiah 1:10. See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. Okay. And how does that happen? Okay. By these knowledge. Okay. The knowledge of these scriptures. Okay. Telling them what's going to befall this place. Okay. Telling them pretty much prophesying the downfall of this kingdom. Let's go back to Isaiah 34. Verse 2, it says, "For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He have utterly destroyed them, and he had delivered them to the slaughter." Okay, so this indignation is the wrath. Okay, let's go into this word indignation. Let's see where. Okay, it says kusep, wrath, anger. On the Most High, a man, splinter, twig, broken twig, meaning dubious. Okay, so this indignation means righteous anger. Okay, the wrath of Yahweh Shai. against these other nations. Okay, for what they did to the nation of Israel. All right, so let's see what that wrath is. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah 66 and 15. This is Isaiah 66:15. It says, "For behold, Yahweh Bashem Yashah will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind." It's like, all right, so it says, "For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire." So that's going into the fire coming from the chariots, okay? Chariots and fire coming from the nuclear missiles. Okay, so these nuclear missiles it's a part of the Heavenly Father's instruments for his indignation. Okay, and he gave them these other nations. He gave them the how you say this technology. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's see Isaiah 50. Where is that at? Let's see 54. Where's that at? This is Isaiah 54 and 16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that blow up the coals." Okay, the smith is a modern day scientist that blow up the coals in the fire and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. Okay, so the Heavenly Father gave them this technology. Okay, and this technology, these nuclear weapons is the instrument of the Heavenly Father's indignation. Okay, what he's going to use. All right. Let's go to Zephaniah. All right, so this is Zephaniah 1 and 14. "The great day of the Lord is near. It is near and hasten greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly." Talking about these Esau's military men. The day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. Okay, so these times that we're heading right now is a day of trouble, a day of darkness. Okay, that's the wrath of the Heavenly Father. Okay, that's coming to this place. All right. All right, let's read this again. It says, "For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies, and he have utterly destroyed them, and he had delivered them to the slaughter." Okay, so why does the Heavenly Father have this indignation to these other nations? Okay, and it's because what they did to the nation of Israel. All right, because they every nation pretty much had their hand in spoiling the nation of Israel. This is this is Zechariah 2 and 8. "For thus says Yahweh of hosts, after the glory he has set me unto the nations which spoil you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye." Okay, so these other nations, all these nations had part, okay, of bringing down the nation of Israel. Okay, they took everything from us, and they were glad when they brought us down, right? And that's what a lot of Jake don't understand, man. They try to find ways to include these other nations and say that they got salvation, but they gotta understand that these nations don't care shit about us. All right, let's get this Lamentations 2 and 15. It says start it says, "All that pass by clap their hands at thee, Okay, these other nations, they hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, the Israelites, saying, "Is this the city that man called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? All thy enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash their teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. And certainly this is the day that we look for. We have found, we have seen it." All right. So these nations, when we went down, they rejoiced when we went down. Okay. So they looked it for our downfall. All right. But it was a part of the curses. Okay. We only went down because we started worshiping these other idols. Okay. And we didn't hearken to the Heavenly Father's law, statutes, and commandments. And you can get that in Deuteronomy 28. Okay. Matter of fact, let's get Deuteronomy 28 and 64 real quick. So it says, "And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all the people, from the one end of the earth even to the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou thy fathers have known, and wood and stone." All right. So we were scattered through all these other nations. All right. That's another one I want. All right. Yeah. So we were scattered through all these nations because of our disobedience. Let's get this real quick. Okay, right here. This is Ezekiel 39:23. "And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore I hid my face from them and gave them into the hand of thy enemies. So fell they all by the sword. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgression, I have done unto them and hid my face from them." Okay, so it wasn't because out of their own, how you say it, out of their own hands. It's because the Heavenly Father set it up like that because we went off. Okay, so that's why these other nations was able to get ahead of us. So these nations prayed for our downfall. Okay, they was all in cahoots together, and pretty much had these councils on taking us down. Okay, and they would rejoice when we went down. Okay, let's get Psalms 83, going into who our enemies are. The Most High implored to confound his enemies. It says Psalms 83:1, "Keep now thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, be not still, O power. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people." Okay. And the people, Heavenly Father's people, the Israelites. Okay. So they have these secret councils going against, plotting against the people of the Heavenly Father. And they have said, and they said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance." Okay. And that's why you see a lot of Jake that don't even know that they're Israelites. Okay. Because that was actually a part of the curses that we was going to discontinue from our heritage. Okay. So it was all according to prophecy. Okay. And that's why, we call each other, we say African Americans. Um, we call ourselves everything else but Israelites. Okay. Because it was stripped from us. Okay. They pretty much, when we went into captivity, especially in America, that we got our heritage beat out of us. All right. And that's why you got a lot of Jake out here lost. They don't know who they is. Okay. So it says, and it's all, this was, like I said, it was all because the Heavenly Father did it. Okay. He did it because we went off. All right. It wasn't because the nations were stronger than us or they was better than us. It's just we went off. Okay. So the Heavenly Father hid himself from us. All right. So it says, Psalms 83:5 says, "For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee." Okay, so all these other nations are against us. Okay, that's why they rejoice when we fail. It says, and then you got the list of the enemies here. It says Psalms 83 and 6, the tabernacles of Edom, okay, being the top, okay, Esau, the so-called white man today, which is in rulership, and the Ishmaelites. Now you gotta understand these two right here, the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, okay, because the Ishmaelites, they had Jake in slavery, starting in the sub-Saharan slave trade, and then them and the Hamites sold us into slavery to Edom, and then you had Wicked Jake that was a part of that too. Okay, sold us into the Edom, and then you got the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, so it says, and then you got Moab, the Chinese, and the Hangarings. I think that's how you pronounce that. Gabal, Ammon, the so-called Japanese, Amalek, and Amalek is the chief tribe of Esau, which is those are the ones that's in the Holy Land right now. Them tiny hats. The Philistines with the Hamlet of Tyre, Ashur also joined with them. They had help in the children of Lot. Okay, so all these nations had their hand, okay, in the spoiling of the Israelites. All right, so let's go back to all right, so it says, we read 2 again. So it says, for the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury is upon all their armies. He had utterly destroyed them. He had delivered them to the slaughter. All right, so um, let's read down to 3. It says, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Okay, and this is going into the Armageddon. Okay, going into World War III. Okay, in the Middle East. Okay, because this is where Armageddon is going to be fought. All right, it's going to be a lot of how you say, a lot of unaliving going on there with these militaries that's going to be mustered up to battle. Okay, in the Middle East, that's why you see a lot of these nations are getting prepared for war, because that's Yahweh Shah put in the spirit, getting these other nations ready for World War III, ready for the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And let's see if I can hold on just a second. Let's see. So let's read this again. So their slain also shall be cast out, and their sting shall come up out their carcasses, and the mountain shall be melted with their blood. Let's get Isaiah. Isaiah 13 and 4. Okay, this is Isaiah 13 and 4. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustered the hosts of the battle. Okay, so that's what you're seeing. Okay, you got the Heavenly Father is putting the spirit on these other nations to get ready for battle. Okay, get ready for that great day. Okay, because you gotta understand it's the Yahweh that works on the minds of these kings. Okay, which these kings are the modern day rulers today. It says, this is Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh, as the rivers of water. He turneth wheresoever he will. Okay, so it's Yahweh Bashiyan Shai in these minds of these kings, getting them ready for that day. All right, let's go back to let's see, let's go back to let's go to Joel. Joel 2. So this is Joel 3 and 2. For it says, I will also gather all the nations, and I will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, meaning Yahweh Shaphat, meaning Yahweh's judgment. Okay. So it says, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land. Okay. And that's why you got the Arabs, so-called Palestinians, and the so-called Jews are fighting over that Holy Land. Okay. So Yahweh is going to judge these nations, okay, for what they did to the nation of Israel. And he's going to judge them by the way of World War III, okay, with these nuclear bombs. Okay. And not only that, when Yahweh Shai, in the midst of all that, Yahweh Shai and the angels, okay, because when they see Yahweh Shai and the angels come, they're going to um, try to fight Yahweh Bashiach Shai and the angels, okay. But the Heavenly Father is going to put a spirit in them to fight, even though they're scared. So it says, I will also gather all the nations, and I'll bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, meaning Yahweh Shaphat, meaning Yahweh's judgment, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land. All right, so let's jump down to 11. It says, this is Joel 3 and 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, and let them come up. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is all these nations are getting prepared for war, World War III. Okay, that's why you see all that commotion in the Middle East, and they're trying to push peace in the Middle East, but there's no peace. All right, we're in a time of war. So it says, prepare war, wake up the mighty man. So let all men of war draw near, let them come up. It says, beat your plowshares into swords, okay, and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak sound strong. So pretty much it says, beat your plowshares into swords, meaning um your agriculture equipment. Instead of getting your agriculture equipment, you need to spend money on getting weaponry, okay, because we're in the time of war. It says, let the weak sound strong. Okay, so as you see, these smaller nations are they are pretty much, they stand in their ground now. Okay, America can't go bully these little nations like they used to. Okay, so now you got these little nations, they stand up. Okay, not only that, and they got Russia and China as a guard to them. All right, and then now these nations, the other nations, they have nuclear weapons. Okay, you got Russia and China supplying them. All right, so this is what you're seeing. So it says, assemble yourself and come, all you heathen, and gather yourself together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Okay, and the mighty ones is Yahweh Shai and the angels. It says, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay, and all that's going to happen around in the Middle East. Okay, verse 13, it says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Okay, so the harvest is the end of the world. So you see, multiple nations are going to be gathered there. It says, for the press is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Okay, so it says, verse 14 says, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. All right, so that's where we're seeing. Okay, that's what's going to go down. It's going to be Armageddon, and that's why we go back to. Let's go to. All right. So it said we'll read 4:3 again. So it said their slain also shall be cast out, and their sting shall come up out of their carcasses. and the mountain shall be melted with their blood. Okay, because it's gonna be a lot of they're gonna be cleared out in that Middle East, man. It's gonna just be a lot of bloodshed. Let's get this. I think it's 39. Let's see. So which one I want? All right. I think I'm gonna start at 11. All right. So it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel. Okay, and that's talking about Russia, the valley of the passengers of the east of the sea, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury Gog and all of his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hamon-Gog. Okay, because they are going to be in that land and they're going to be put to death because of World War III. Okay, because that's where all that's going to happen in the Middle East. Israel's going to be destroyed. America's going to be destroyed, but Israel's going to be rebuilt back up. The Middle East is going to be built back up. Now let's go to and not only that, we're going to have them. They're going to bury them dead bodies too. Let's see. It says, verse 12. It says, "In 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them, that they may cleanse the land. Yet all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown on the day that I shall be glorified," says Yahweh power. "And they shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth to cleanse it. After the end of the 7 months, they shall search." Okay, so they're going to, other nations, we're going to have them to bury those dead bodies. And it says, "And the passengers that pass through the land, when any see a man's bones, then he shall set up a sign by it until the buriers have buried it in the valley of Hamagog." Okay. So it's going to be a lot of bodies getting buried in the Middle East. All right. All right. So it says, back to Isaiah 34 and 5, it says, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea." Okay. And that sword is talking about those missiles. Hold on just a second. You know what, Salaki? I skipped the part. Verse 4 says, "And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. And all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree." Okay. And that's talking about the nuclear missiles. Okay. So I got an example pulled up. Let me pull that up. Share this tab. So this is what you got right here. It says, this is what it's talking about, that the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll, like a mushroom crowd. Okay. So you see how it rolls up like a scroll? That's what it's talking about. Because when these prophets had these visions, and they tried to describe it to the best of their ability, okay, they didn't really have the full understanding of what it was, but they described it to the best of ability to where we're able to break it down now. So it says, let's go back to, so it says, "All the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree." Okay. So it's going to be Esau being destroyed. Okay. Him being taken out his rulership. Okay. Because according to prophecy, Esau will be ruling in the last days. All right. This is verse 5. It says, "For my sword," it says, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment." All right. And this is talking about it's talking about the missiles. Okay, the Heavenly Father's sword is these missiles and the lasers from them chariots. Okay, so it says, "Behold, it should come down upon Idumea." Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom, upon the people on my curse to judgment. Okay, and this is talking about Esau because Esau has that is the people of his curse, going back to since the beginning, going all the way back to the serpent in the garden, all the way to Cain. Okay, because that mark is that a mark of leprosy. Let's go to Genesis 4:15. This is Genesis 4:15. It says, "And the Lord said unto him, Therefore, whosoever slave Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any find him shall kill him." Okay, so this mark that was upon Cain was the curse of leprosy. Okay, the Lord stripped them of their pigment. All right, so the same spirit that was in that serpent that begot Eve is that same spirit that's in Cain, and it's that same spirit that's in Esau. All right. Well, let's get another. I think it was Jeremiah. I think it's Jeremiah 49:10. This is Jeremiah 49:10. "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he should not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not." All right, so that's why when Esau came out, they described him. He came out red, all hairy. He came out red all over like a hairy garment. Okay, so these Edomites have that mark of leprosy. Okay, that's that curse that was put on them. Let's go back to 34. All right, so it says the sword. This is Isaiah 34:6. "The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with the fatness and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord have a sacrifice in Basra and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea." All right, so this blood and lambs and goat is symbolic, is meaning people. Okay, because there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. America and the Basra is it was a capital in Edom. Okay, which modern day Basra is America. Okay, that's like pretty much Esau's capital. Okay, the top banking families. America is is what they use to push their legislation and police the world through America. All right. So America is the modern day Basra. All right. So pretty much America is going to be a altar. Okay. Let's get Isaiah 63:1. It says, "Who is that come from Edom with dyed garments from Basra, that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength? I so like it. I that speak in righteousness mighty to save." Okay, so this is talking about when it says dyed garments, it's talking about all that the bloodshed that's going to be, how you said, shed in America. Okay, because if you're not a part of that remnant, you're going to get destroyed. All right. Everybody else that's not of elect in America is going to be destroyed. Okay. So it says, is that glorious in his apparel? That's why it says his garments was dyed garments, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak righteousness mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thy apparel, and thy garments like him that treaded in the wine fat. Wine fat. Okay. And this is all symbolic because it just going into all the bloodshed that's going to be shed. Okay. So it's not actually he's going to just be red all over. It is going into how a lot of people are going to be destroyed. It says, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and a year of my redeem is come. Okay, for what they did to the nation of Israel. Okay, they touched the apple of the Most High, his apple of his eye, which is the nation of Israel. All right. All right. So this is Isaiah 34:7. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For this is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. Let me get this in the NLT. All right, verse 8, it says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, the year when Edom will be paid back for all it did to Israel. Okay. Because um Esau held this perpetual hatred with his brother Jacob, going back to when he sold his birthright to Jacob, and when Jacob stole the birthright with him, but it was in the spirit, it was already set up like that. Okay, so Esau held this perpetual hatred towards his brother Jacob. Let's get Obadiah. You know what? Okay, I'll start at 8. This is Obadiah 1:8. Shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and the understanding out of Mount Esau, and thy mighty man of Teman shall be dismayed to the end, that every one of the Mount of Esau may be cut off by the slaughter. For your violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers came and carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou as was one of them. Okay, and that's going back into when the Babylonians came, the Edomites was there, and they were saying racist, racist. Okay, they didn't come help with none of that. So it says, but thou should not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger, neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of the distress. Thou should not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou should not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid their hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither should thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither should that, though, neither shouldst thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. Okay, so Esau has a lot to pay for, man. Let's get race it. Psalms 149, I think it is. Where is it at? Oh, you know what? Wrong one. I think it's Psalms 137. 37. It says, there we go, right there. Psalms 137. All right, so it says, the Psalms 137. It said, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. Okay, so when we're getting taken down in Jerusalem by the Babylonians, the Edomites was there. Let's get this in the pocket for real quick. First Maccabees 4:45. It says, you know what? Is it 4:45? What's this? That's what I want. Let's go to first. Oh, okay, here we go, right here. All right. You know what? I'll start 43. This is first Esdras 4:45. Then said he unto the king, remember thy vow which thou had vowed to build Jerusalem in the day when thou camest to thy kingdom, and to send away all the vessels that were taken away out of Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart, when he vowed to destroy Babylon and to send them again thither. Thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldees. You see? So they had part of that. Okay. So this is why Esau is about to get this. He about to get this work, man. So that's why in Psalms 137, he said, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dashes thy little ones against the stones. Okay, so that's why Esau's gonna be done away, man, after they served 1,000 years. Let's see. Okay, let's go back to where is that? So it says Isaiah 34:9, it says, and the strings thereof should be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. All right, so that's going into America is going to be completely burnt, destroyed, and it should not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, from generation to generation. It shall lie waste; none shall pass through it forever and ever. Okay, and this is talking about um, the destruction of America. Okay, after those missiles hit, it's never going to be inhabited no more. All right. So let's see. It says, verse 11 says, but the cormorant and the bitterns shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and it shall stretch out upon the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. Okay. So once America is destroyed, you're not going to be able to tell what state line is this or where you at. Okay. It's going to be completely leveled. All right. Flat line. Verse 12, it says, they shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all their apprentices shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her palace, nettles and brambles and the fortress thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons and a court for owls. Okay, because it's gonna be desolate. It's gonna be in the desert. Okay. So for you ones that's trying to fight for America, y'all don't know the latter end of America. America is set to be destroyed. It's already written. We're just playing it out. All right. Micah 2:10. This is not our rest. All right. So it says verse 34 and 14 said the wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the land, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there and find for herself a place of rest. Okay, there shall the great owl make her nest and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. There shall the vulture also be gathered, everyone with her mate. All right. So America is going to be a desert, desolate when these missiles hit. Revelations 18:2. It says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, the great is fallen and become the habitations of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean, hateful bird. All right. So that's the future. What's coming to America? Okay, desolation. What is that? Okay, this is let's start at 19. This is Isaiah 13:19. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, okay, talking about America, the beauty of the Chaldees, excellence shall be as when Sodom overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. And this is how we know it's not talking about ancient Babylon, okay, because ancient Babylon, you didn't get done like Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, Sodom and Gomorrah got done um, with fire and brimstone. All right, so it said it should never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generations to generations. Okay, and Babylon is ancient. It's modern day Iraq, I think. Yeah, I think it's yes, modern day Iraq. Okay, you still got people that dwell there. Okay, this is talking about America. Okay, because once America get destroyed, it's never going to be inhabited. It's going to be inhabited by desert animals. It says it should never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generations to generations. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there. Okay, and this is actually going into like when you see these Arabs, they come over here, they come over and set up their little uh, gas stations, the little smoke shops, and there neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days should not be prolonged. All right, so America is done. That's it. All right, so it says Isaiah 34:16, it says, seek ye out the book of Yahweh and read. And that book is the Bible. No one of these shall fail going into these prophecies. Okay. None shall want her mate, from my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them. Okay, so you can't make this book with any book. Let's get you know what, I read this. This is Isaiah 55:10. For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but water the earth, and make it to bring forth bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So pretty much when it rains, it's going to rain for a purpose, okay, to water, the plants and all this other stuff. It's going to bring forth fruit. It's going to bring forth cause the It's gonna when it rains, it's gonna do its purpose. Okay, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Okay, so shall my word that go forth out my mouth. Okay, so the words of Yahweh, well, the words that come out of his mouth is going to do what is its purpose, what it was sent out to do. It says, "It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it." All right. So these prophecies are going to come to pass, whether you believe or not. It says, verse 17, "And he have cast the lot for them, and his hand have divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever, from generation to generation shall they dwell therein." All right. Well, that's Isaiah 34. I hope this video was edifying. Hopefully, I was able to make it make sense to you, whoever watches this video. And I want to give all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. I want to say Shalom.